Today we are talking about Emily Bronte's absolute masterpiece, Wuthering Heights. But we're not going to just look at it as some classic romance. Nope. We're going to dive into how it completely flipped the script on Gothic horror, how it took the terror out of spooky old castles and shoved it right into the darkest corners of the human mind. Let's get into it.
All right, so first, let me ask you something. When I say the word Gothic, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? Is it, I don't know, a creepy, crumbling castle, a stormy night, maybe a ghost? Whatever it is, just hang on to that image for a second.
Because odds are, you're probably thinking of some of these classic things, right? Haunted castles, chains rattling in the attic, restless spirits, maybe a vampire, or some monster stitched together from spare parts. I mean, these are the bread and butter of traditional Gothic stories. It's all about threats coming from the outside.
But Emily Brontë, with Wuthering Heights, she asked a totally different and honestly a revolutionary question. What if the scariest thing out there isn't some monster you can see and fight? What if the real horror is something you can never, ever escape? Because it lives inside your own head.
And that right there is the core of Bronte's genius. She basically created a whole new kind of horror. She shifted the entire focus from haunted houses to haunted minds. She turned the whole genre inside out. And you can see that change so clearly when you put them side by side. The old Gothic stories, they relied on stuff that goes bump in the night. Ghosts, monsters, curses. But Wuthering Heights, it finds its horror in something way more familiar. Internal torment. We're talking uncontrollable passion, an obsession that just destroys everything, and a hunger for revenge that becomes an all-consuming fire.
So how in the world does she pull this off? How does she make human emotion so terrifying? Well, she builds it from the ground up, showing us exactly how things like love and hate can twist into these monstrous, unstoppable forces. It's time to take a look at the monster within.
You know, there's actually a name for what Brontë was doing here. It's called psychological Gothic. And the whole idea is that the horror isn't about what some ghost might do to you. No, it's about what your own mind, your own grief, your own anger can do to you. In this world, your own head becomes the most inescapable prison of all.
And who is at the dark heart of this psychological prison? Heathcliff. Now, he is not your typical mustache-twirling villain. Not at all. He's the perfect Gothic anti-hero. An orphan, an outcast, someone that society just pushes away from the moment he appears. And that's the key. The fact that he starts as a victim is what fuels everything monstrous he does later.
This one line, this is the engine that drives the entire novel's pain. When Catherine Earnshaw says, "I am Heathcliff," it's probably one of the most famous lines in all of literature, and for a good reason. But listen, it's not just romantic, it's actually terrifying. It's talking about a love so obsessive, it completely erases who you are, a passion that just smashes through every social, moral, and even spiritual rule.
And Heathcliff's journey from a hurt boy to a monster is the real horror story here. It's a chilling transformation, and it really happens in 3 stages. First, he's the victim. He suffers this unbelievable cruelty and humiliation. Then, he makes a vow. He dedicates his entire existence to getting revenge. And finally, he becomes the villain, carrying out this cold, calculated revenge that poisons everyone around him, even spilling over into the next generation. This isn't some demon. This is all human.
Okay, so all this internal chaos, it's not just happening in a vacuum. Brontë does something brilliant with the setting. It isn't just a spooky backdrop, it's a literal mirror of what's going on inside her characters' tormented souls.
The story really revolves around 2 places, and they represent these 2 warring forces. First, you've got Wuthering Heights itself. It's wild, it's beaten by storms, it's totally untamed, just like the crazy passions of Catherine and Heathcliff. And then you have Thrushcross Grange, all prim and proper, refined, controlled, civilized. The whole book is really a brutal fight between these 2 worlds.
But wait, you might be thinking, what about the ghost, right? Catherine's ghost does show up at the window. Well, this is where Bronte's genius really shines, because she leaves it totally up in the air. Is it a real ghost, or is it just a figment of the imagination, born from the narrator's fear and Heathcliff's all-consuming grief? The real terror is that you don't know. That uncertainty just blurs the line between what's supernatural and what's pure madness.
And his feeling of being trapped is absolutely everywhere in the book. I mean, characters are literally locked in rooms, they're forced into marriages they don't want, they're emotionally imprisoned by each other. The home, the one place that's supposed to be safe, becomes just another site of Gothic terror.
So, with all of this unbelievable pain and revenge, is there any hope at all? Is everyone just doomed to repeat this awful cycle over and over again? Well, that brings us to the final part of the story, the curse, and maybe, just maybe, the cure.
See, the whole novel is really a tale of two generations. You've got the first one, Catherine and Heathcliff. Their story is all about a destructive obsession that just ends in complete tragedy. That's the Gothic curse. But then you have the second generation, with young Cathy and Hareton. Their story kind of mirrors the first, but in a totally different way. Theirs is a story of redemptive love, and through them, that vicious cycle of revenge is finally broken. They are that little glimmer of hope.
And that, really, is the ultimate achievement of Wuthering Heights. Emily Brontë took the whole Gothic genre, picked it up, and completely transformed it. She proved that the deepest, most unsettling horror isn't some ghost in the attic or a monster in the basement. No, it's the terrifying capacity for obsession, cruelty, and revenge that haunts the human heart.
So I'll just leave you with that question to think about. After digging into Bronte's incredible novel, what do you think? Where does true horror really live? Is it in a haunted house or in a haunted heart? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.